The Scandalous and Shocking Life of Charles Coughlin. Charles Coughlin, a Canadian-American Roman Catholic priest, was one of the most controversial figures in American history. Known as the radio priest, Coughlin's sermons reached millions during the Great Depression, blending religion, politics, and anti-Semitism. Here are 10 of the most scandalous and shocking facts about his life. Fact number 1. Early life and personal background. Charles Edward Coughlin was born on October 25, 1891, in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Raised in a devout Roman Catholic family, Coughlin showed an early interest in religion. He attended St. Michael's College in Toronto, excelling academically and demonstrating a strong interest in theology. Coughlin continued his religious studies at St. Basil's Seminary, also in Toronto, where he was ordained as a priest in 1916. In 1923, Coughlin moved to the United States and was assigned to the Shrine of the Little Flower in Royal Oak, Michigan. This parish, named after Saint Therese of Lisieux, would become the epicenter of his rise to national prominence. Despite his high public profile, Coughlin maintained a relatively private personal life. He never married and had no children, dedicating himself entirely to his ministry and his increasingly controversial broadcasts. Number 2. The rise of the radio priest. Coughlin began his radio career in 1926, broadcasting sermons from his church. By the early 1930s, his audience had grown to an estimated 30 million listeners across the United States, making him one of the most influential figures of his time. His broadcasts, initially focused on religious topics, shifted towards social and political issues as the Great Depression deepened. Coughlin harshly criticized the banking industry, Wall Street, and the federal government, accusing them of failing the American people. He positioned himself as a defender of the common man, using his platform to advocate for economic reforms and social justice. His fiery rhetoric and charismatic delivery resonated deeply with his listeners, many of whom were struggling with the economic hardships of the era. He famously said, "I will lead a revolt against the government of this country, and will no longer obey the laws of the United States." Number 3. Anti-Semitic Rhetoric. One of the most shocking and damaging aspects of Coughlin's career was his virulent anti-Semitism. By the late 1930s, his broadcasts increasingly targeted Jews, whom he blamed for a range of societal ills, including the Great Depression. He accused Jewish bankers of orchestrating economic chaos and spread conspiracy theories about Jewish control over global affairs. In one of his broadcasts, he infamously stated, "The international bankers, including many Jews, are the cause of all our woes." Coughlin's anti-Semitic messages drew widespread condemnation from various quarters, including other religious leaders, politicians, and civil rights organizations. Despite this, he maintained a substantial following among those who shared or were swayed by his prejudices. His views on race were equally controversial. He expressed support for segregation and criticized the civil rights movement, which he believed threatened the social order. These statements, condemned by many, including members of the Catholic Church, further contributed to the broader narrative of Coughlin as a figure who stoked division and hatred in American society. Number 4. Alliance with fascism. Coughlin's views became even more extreme as he expressed admiration for European fascist leaders like Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. He praised their authoritarian regimes and adopted their anti-communist and anti-Semitic rhetoric. In his publication Social Justice, which began in 1938, Coughlin included articles sympathetic to Nazi Germany and critical of American democracy. He praised Hitler's economic policies and Mussolini's leadership, seeing them as bulwarks against communism. Coughlin's support for fascism alarmed many Americans and further tarnished his reputation. His magazine Social Justice became a platform for his extremist views, promoting conspiracy theories and anti-Semitic propaganda. This open admiration for fascist regimes and their leaders underscored Coughlin's departure from mainstream American values and highlighted his role in spreading dangerous ideologies. Number 5. Influence on American politics. Coughlin's influence extended deep into American politics during the 1930s. Initially, he supported President Franklin D. Roosevelt and the New Deal, seeing them as steps toward economic justice. However, as Roosevelt's policies evolved, Coughlin grew disillusioned, accusing the president of being influenced by Jewish advisors and betraying the common people. In response, Coughlin founded the National Union for Social Justice in 1934, a political organization aimed at promoting his populist and nationalist agenda. The organization grew rapidly, attracting millions of supporters who resonated with Coughlin's message. He endorsed various political candidates, hoping to shape American policy according to his views. One notable endorsement was of William Lemke, the Union Party candidate for president in 1936. Although Lemke's campaign was unsuccessful, Coughlin's support demonstrated his significant impact on American politics and the potential threat he posed to the established political order. Number 6. The Christian Front and Militant Activities. In 1938, Charles Coughlin helped establish the Christian Front, a militant organization aimed at combating communism and Jewish influence in America. The Christian Front drew inspiration from Coughlin's fiery rhetoric and attracted many of his followers. The group organized rallies and distributed Coughlin's publications, often leading to violent confrontations. The Christian Front's slogan was Christ, not Marx, and they held numerous public demonstrations, which frequently turned into anti-Semitic displays of hatred and aggression. The most shocking scandal occurred in January 1940, when 17 members of the Christian Front were arrested by the FBI for plotting to overthrow the U.S. government. They planned to bomb armories, seize government buildings, and establish a fascist dictatorship. This revelation caused a national uproar, bringing Coughlin's dangerous influence into the spotlight. The arrests further damaged Coughlin's reputation, leading to increased scrutiny of his activities by both the government and the Catholic Church. Number 7. Censorship and the Decline of Influence. By the late 1930s, Coughlin's broadcasts had become so controversial that the U.S. government and the Catholic Church took action to silence him. In 1939, the National Association of Broadcasters implemented regulations requiring station management approval for broadcasts, effectively barring Coughlin from the airwaves. In 1942, his magazine Social Justice was banned from the U.S. mail under the Espionage Act, ending its national distribution. Despite these efforts, Coughlin continued preaching at the Shrine of the Little Flower in Royal Oak, Michigan, until his retirement in 1966, although his national influence had waned. Number 8. Influence on the America First Committee. Coughlin's anti-war and isolationist views resonated with the America First Committee, a powerful group opposing U.S. involvement in World War II. Though not an official member, Coughlin's rhetoric heavily influenced the group's messaging. America First leaders, including Charles Lindbergh, echoed Coughlin's arguments against intervention, often using his speeches and articles to bolster their case. For example, Lindbergh's 1941 Des Moines speech mirrored Coughlin's claims of Jewish influence pushing America towards war, demonstrating Coughlin's significant impact on public opinion regarding national issues. Number 9. Relationship with Henry Ford. Charles Coughlin had a notable relationship with Henry Ford, the automotive magnate known for his anti-Semitic views. Ford's newspaper, the Dearborn Independent, published numerous anti-Semitic articles, including the infamous series The International Jew. Coughlin frequently referenced these articles in his broadcasts, using them to support his own anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. The mutual admiration between Ford and Coughlin was well documented. Coughlin praised Ford's economic policies and shared his distrust of Jewish influence in finance and politics. This association added to the perception of Coughlin as a key figure in the propagation of anti-Semitic ideologies in America. Ford's endorsement of Coughlin's views underscored the dangerous alliance between influential public figures and extremist beliefs, amplifying their reach and impact on American society. Number 10. Denouncement by the Vatican. As Coughlin's rhetoric became more extreme, he faced increasing pressure from the Catholic Church. In 1938, the Vatican issued a rare denouncement, urging Coughlin to cease his political activities and return to purely religious teachings. The Pope directed American bishops to rein in Coughlin, emphasizing that his political involvement was inappropriate for a priest. Despite this intervention, Coughlin continued his broadcasts for several more years, illustrating his determination to spread his views regardless of the consequences to his standing within the church.